just a show of hands, how many of you here woke up at 5 a.m. today? Okay, nobody. One. And how many of you with your hands still raised would do that for every other day for the next, say, 5, 10 years? Okay, so basically that's what I do. I woke up at 5, I had my trainings, and here I am talking to you. Well, for some of you in this situation, you would drag yourself out of bed. You would hit the snooze button a few more times, or simply go, 5 more minutes, please. But I wake up with no hesitation. Why? Because I know it's worth it. It's worth the extra hours I get to do things with in a day. And over time, my body just does it for me naturally to wake up with no hesitation. As a bodybuilding champion says, you have 24 hours a day, you sleep 6 hours, and you have 18 hours left. Well, some of you may say you sleep 8 or 9 hours, so sleep faster, he recommends. So I guess you usually eat a meal in 10 minutes. Why not eat faster and finish it in 5 without choking? You usually take your run in 30 minutes. Why not run faster and finish it in 20 minutes without fainting, of course? So I guess if you usually sleep at a duration of 9 hours, why not sleep faster and wake up in 6 hours? So no matter how many hours in a day I have, I would always find time for training because you would find time to do something that you love. I believe most of you here, you have passion, hobbies for something that is out of your schoolwork or work in particular, and you would always find time for it. So there's no excuse for no time. You make time. This is the kind of discipline I expect of myself. And discipline is remembering what you want. So what is this sport all about? Many of you are still wondering. Okay, imagine sprinting at your fastest, okay, and taking the sharpest turn you possibly could on ice on a piece of metal blade. Now, if everyone could do something for me, okay, just raise up a hand. Put your thumb and index finger, like so. Thank you. And put it close to your eye, right in front of your eye. Okay, from where you are seated, try to fit my head in between the space of your fingers. Just that tiny little gap. And take a look. Just that tiny gap, just less than 1/4 of a centimeter, just like that tiny line on the screen. Basically, that is the width of my blades on each foot. And the top skaters go at a fast pace of 50 km per hour, making it the world's fastest self-propelled sport. So can you imagine how fast it would be? Okay, here's a photo of the rink at competition. You can see how big the ring is and how small the people are. And a lap will go about, say, 111 meters. We would do it in about 9 or 10 seconds. Let's make a reference here. Zach, can I have you out for a second? Okay, I would like you to make a lap around the auditorium. Okay, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you very much. Okay, let's say that was about 10 seconds. Let's give him a round of applause. Okay. And so that was about, say, 50 meters. If Zach was speed skating on ice right now, he would have done that twice as fast, going 2 rounds within the same time span. Well, here's a short clip of what racing on ice looks like. So here I am today, sharing a few stories about passion, perseverance, and patience on how I chanced upon studying this new winter sport in Singapore and how I held on to it until today. I shall begin with igniting the passion within. Well, while watching Winter Olympics on TV as a kid, had always been a cool thing. Cool too, literally. So they had sports like, say, snowboarding, skiing, downhill skiing, alpine, and things like that. And they all had one thing in common. They all needed an ice snowy mountain like that, which was something only you and I could only dream of, because here in Singapore, this is all we have, the Bukit Timah Hill. So, thankfully, short track was an indoor sport for me. And it all began where there was a call for athletes to partake in this selection camp for this new sport, short track speed skating. And I thought to myself, hey, why not? I had experience in skating. I just finished college, and I had a few more months before I got called on for national service. So, and also it was an opportunity for me to test and push my limits to its maximum and probably be a part of something big. Okay, so I went ahead to register myself for the selection camp and waited. And when they did not reply me straight away, I told myself to stay positive and have faith and not disappointed in saying that that was it, I wasn't chosen. I was out before I was in. How was that even possible? So I told myself to have faith and waited and waited. Weeks later, I finally received a reply from me to join the camp. I was overjoyed. I went for the camp and gave it my all. I did my best at everything that was given at me, from the skating drills, from the technique, squats and jumps and everything. I gave it my all. I was out of doing competitive sports for a few years, and I was not as fit as thought I would be. So I went home at the end of the day feeling my legs all so sore. And I was like, okay, no, I have to do this. So I continued day and day, and after 3 long days, I started to realize that I went through it with my legs sore every day, and that this is actually how bad I really wanted to be in. So after the 3 days of long, strenuous activities on and off ice, 12 athletes, including myself, was selected to be a part of Singapore's first pioneer batch of ice speed skaters. I never knew that skating would be such a big part of me right now. And the adrenaline I get on ice is something that I can never get elsewhere. The passion starts to grow at every training, at every competition. It strives me to go for success and to get better results every time. Which leads on to my next story with holding on with perseverance. Wanting to push and achieve as much as I can within the few months before enlisting for national service. For that, I went to train overseas alone. Just into the 2nd week of training, I had a fall on ice, resulting in injuring my left knee. I could not walk much. I had to limp up and down stairs, and I could not skate. So I basically was out. While resting in my room, I received a call from my coach Dan, and she said, "Why are you not at the gym?" And I said, "I thought I should be resting because I got injured." Well, she said, "Yeah, I know, but that was your left leg. Your right leg is perfectly fine. Get to the gym now." So, putting down the phone and getting confused for a moment, because I grew up learning that when I get injured or I'm unwell, I rest and recover, right? So, it was my first time training overseas, and I started to realize that no time should be wasted. If you're injured on your left, you train on your right. You're injured on your legs, you train on your arms. You're physically injured everywhere, you train with your mind. So I guess that's how it should be. So with that being said, training while recovering an injury was a big challenge for me. Not only had to limp from places to places, but had to do most of my trainings in the gym. No, basically because I could not skate. I had to do all the one-legged squats, the one-legged jumps, the hops, the machines, everything one-legged. And you pretty much can imagine what situation I was in like. Pain is temporary. It may last for a minute, or an hour, or a day, or even a year, but eventually it will subside, and something else would take its place. But if I quit at the point of time, it would have lasted forever until today. So I held on to it, to every training, every week that comes by, telling myself that the pain is only temporary, and I will come to an end to all the trainings. So I held on to it week by week, and yes, it did come to an end. A few weeks later, I got back home here in Singapore, the very hot place here. And I guess my body could not take it, let alone it was my first time in a winter country. It was the coldest ever. It went down to as low as minus 30 degrees. Okay? You cannot imagine how cold it was. I didn't have to keep my ice cream in the freezer. I just had to hang it out the window and it stays frozen for weeks. Okay, that was how cold it was. And here in Singapore, the temperatures go way above zero at 30 degrees. You can imagine that there was a almost 60 degrees change in temperature. And I guess my body could not take it. Imagine pouring hot water in an ice cold glass. And what happens? Breaks. Like my body broke down. I felt ill, really ill. I had fever over 40 degrees and I was miserable. Yet life have a funny way of picking you up when you are down. On the third day of falling sick, I received a call. And I was informed that we are invited to join the 7 Asian Winter Games in Kazakhstan. And it was my call to go for it or not. So, well, in this situation, only a crazy person will pack his bags, go back into the freezing cold to train, and 3 weeks later fly off immediately from there to compete. And guess what? I was that crazy person. Immediately recovering that weekend, I flew back into the freezing cold, trained for a few more weeks, and immediately flew off from there to compete for my first time at a major sporting event. Here's a photo of me flag bearing at the opening ceremony. And that's me on ice on a practice session. Yes, I had really long hair back then, so I shall not touch on that. And there, I set a new personal best timing and a new national record. So I guess if you were to hold on everything that you have with perseverance, all the way to the very end, something good would take its place. And now I shall move on to my next and last story with waiting it out with patience. So I believe every journey has many, many obstacles to cross. And for us men here in Singapore, guess what? National service may be maybe an obstacle for some of you to cross. Well, for me, in this case, I was no different. I was enlisted into the Naval Diving Unit, 35th batch. And it was one of Singapore's top elite units in the armed forces. You can imagine the kind of training that we do. So that being aside, I could not book out day to day like many other vocations. I had to stay in camp Mondays to Fridays and only had free times on the weekends. So while we have trainings on the weekdays and my batchmates get to rest on the weekends, guess what? I had more trainings on the weekends. I would wake up at 5 a.m. on the weekends, even earlier than the 7 a.m. fall-in timing during the Mondays to Fridays. So it was a big struggle for me to juggle between training as a naval diver and training as a national athlete. But I had to. Because before I get enlisted, I clocked in over 30 hours of training a week. And after enlisting, I clocked in the most 5 to 8 hours a week. So you can imagine the difference. So for almost 22 months, I had to struggle and squeeze out as much training as my personal time as I did not want to lose out in progress. So at the end, I waited it out patiently without letting it stop me from pursuing my skating career. I enlisted as a trainee and I graduated as a naval diver. And I believe that every obstacle that comes forth, there's always a way around it or over it. So don't lose faith and keep trying.
Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life.
As said by a great man, you have to have faith and love what you did. This is a video I made of me doing some skating Pacific drills. I have never imagined that I could jump that high or that far in distance. So I believe that if you hold on to everything and believe in yourself and you patiently wait it out, something will always come in place. All these opportunities that comes forth towards me, I grab them, not knowing what the end will look like. Yet here I am, in my terms, I have yet to make it, but I'm trying, giving my best at everything that comes towards me. What I've learned in my skating career so far is to go for it. You go it with passion, you go it with perseverance, and you go it with patience. And even if the end isn't always in sight, and sometimes that one chance you get, and that one moment in time will make all the difference in your futures. So if you chance upon it, you take it. Experience, explore, and experiment that moment. And one day, the success will be yours. Thank you very much.